So you want to get into the world of producing your own music, but you're not entirely sure where to start. So I've compiled a list of what I think are the most essential items to start your own home studio setup, and I've placed them in order of what I think are their importance, so going from essential to almost optional, if you will. For anyone looking for specific recommendations, I've left links down in the description below to pieces of equipment that are particularly suited to the position you're in, as well as links to everything that I own here in case you want to pick up something that you see in the video. So without further delay, let's get into it. The first thing that you're going to need is something to record your music into, be it a computer or a phone or a tablet, something that is capable of running a DAW, which we'll get into in the next point, and recording audio. Even if you're just using the inbuilt microphone. Main thing to look out for here is that the computer or phone or tablet, whatever you're using, is fast enough that you're not going to be running into glitches or bugs as you're trying to remain inspired and record things in, because that's what's going to hamper your progress, not a lack of equipment. Naturally, the second thing that you're going to need then is a digital audio workstation, or a DAW, or DAW. This is the program into which you're going to record your audio and then through which you're going to edit, mix, master, and get ready to send off to your fans to listen to. There are tons of digital audio workstations that work on Mac, on PC, Linux, on Android, iOS, and at lots and lots of price points. So, you can get some free DAWs, there are some cheap paid ones, and then there's some really expensive ones. Some work on a big subscription basis as well. Whatever you find suits you and your workflow. Some examples would be Cubase, Ableton Live, Logic, Pro Tools, Bitwig, Studio One, Harrison Mixbus, Reaper, FL Studio. Anyway, I'll leave links to all those websites down in the description as well. Okay, so number 3 on the list is an audio interface. This is the one I started out with, the Focusrite Scarlett 2i2, I believe. It's got stickers and stuff all over it and reminders. I eventually kind of graduated to using the Focusrite Scarlett 18i20, which has a lot more functionality. And this essentially acts as the bridge between the real world and your computer. They're that simple. They aren't simple, however, in the additional features that make one worth buying over another. So here are a couple of things you need to look out for. The number of inputs. So how many people are you recording? If it's just you, like 99% of home studio producers, 2 inputs is definitely going to be enough. If you're recording a band, you're going to need more than 2 inputs because you need to take into account, for example, drum microphones, the inputs for bassists, guitarists, and so on. The preamps in these inputs are an important note as well. They need to be able to drive your microphone enough to get a clean signal, and most importantly, not noisy. Because if you have a noisy preamp or one that's introducing hiss or buzz, that's extremely hard to get rid of in post. So you want a high gain, low noise preamp to get the cleanest recordings. Another thing to look out for is the metering. On this particular interface, there's a small LED ring here that indicates when you're getting signal and when you're clipping. The problem with this sort of indicator is that you only know when you're getting a signal and when you're getting too much. You can't really balance where you are. However, on my 18i20, you've got actual LED readouts, so I can get my level as loud as possible before clipping and ensure that I'm getting a healthy signal with the lowest noise possible. The next thing you're going to need is a microphone. This is how you're going to record sources that don't necessarily have a direct line that you can just plug straight into your interface. So we're talking about vocals, acoustic guitars, drums, percussion, stuff like that. What's important to note is that there are different types of microphone as well. For example, dynamic microphones, condenser microphones, and ribbon microphones. No, they're not invisible, I just don't own one. If you'd like a more in-depth guide as to the differences between different types of microphones, how they work, their strengths and weaknesses, what you're going to need to record particular sources, let me know in the comments down below and I'll make a video about that. Moving on, another important part of any home studio is a MIDI keyboard. This is essentially just a keyboard that plugs straight into your computer and allows you to control virtual instruments in your DAW. This is great for letting you incorporate sounds into your songs that you might not actually have access to. So big grand pianos, you can even control entire orchestras. An advantage to recording things in as MIDI is that you can change your performances after the fact by manipulating the MIDI in your DAW. This means that if you've made a mistake, you can correct it, you can time quantize things, you can change a part, you can transpose it. It becomes completely flexible. You can even take the part that you played and just load that into a different instrument. So now something that was being played on a violin, for example, can now be played on a piano. On a side note, if you buy an M-Audio Keystation 49 as your MIDI controller, let everybody know that you're a serious music producer by losing the tip of this knob. The next important thing that you're going to want for your home studio is a pair of headphones. These are going to help you make better mix decisions because now you'll be able to hear your mix in greater depth and detail. They're also going to help you in monitoring yourself while you're recording something, for example, with a microphone, so you're not going to hear the track playing in the background as you record the part in. Which, by the way, if you'd like a tutorial about recording yourself, let me know in the comments below. An important point here is make sure that you're going to buy headphones designed for studio applications. Your regular consumer grade headphones like Beats by Dre and other like Bluetooth headphones are not going to cut it. They tend to accentuate the pleasing frequencies so that we think everything sounds better, which isn't going to give you an accurate picture of how your music really sounds, which ultimately means that your music might not translate well across different systems like cars and home stereo systems and TVs and laptops and phones. So make sure you stick to studio headphones. The next most important thing would be studio monitors, essentially doing a bit of the work that headphones will be doing, but now you can hear how your song is going to sound in a room. It also gives you a more accurate picture of a soundstage because headphones are strapped to your head, so the speakers are directly into each ear. This way the speakers are in front of you and can give you a really accurate picture of how everything is panned and the depth to your mix. Again, make sure you're not using just any old speakers. You need to get studio monitors in this case, because they're going to have a flatter frequency response, giving you an accurate picture of your mix. Regular hi-fi home systems do the same thing that those consumer headphones do. They hype up frequencies that sound pleasing so that their speakers sound better and people buy more of them. By sticking to studio monitors and setting them up correctly, you're going to end up with a very accurate picture of how your songs sound, and hopefully making sure your mixes translate well across multiple systems. The next thing you want to look into is room treatment. That's what these panels up on the walls are. These weren't expensive because I made them myself, and what they help to do is reduce the ambience in the room, the natural echo or reverb, and this helps for two reasons. One, when you're recording a source, it means you'll be picking up the direct sound from the microphone and not the sound of the room around the instrument, which is hard to remove in post if you want to make something sound a little more dry, direct, and in your face. The second thing it helps with is mixing, much for the same reason. You don't want to be mixing in a room that's echoing because you won't get an accurate picture of how your music sounds. The next thing you're going to want to look at is plugins. These are little pieces of software that plug in to the software that you're already using to help in manipulating your audio. Most DAWs already come with a full suite of plugins for you to use in sculpting your sound, which in my opinion, if you're crafty, you can use to great effect. But if you're after third-party plugins, or if there's a very specific effect you're looking for, there are a number of sites that offer great, free, cheap, and sometimes unjustifiably expensive plugins. I'll leave a couple of links below to some of my favorite free plugins, and if you want an in-depth video about that, say so in the comments. So the last point, which I think is the least essential, is hardware. By hardware, I mean the old school way of manipulating sound. So before using plugins, they would have rack units that had your compressors, your EQs, saturators, so on, in them. And the reason you'd want that is twofold. One, you might prefer the sound that is imparted by running it through hardware. And the second part is even the experience of using it. I like the sound, but I also find it has a great effect on my workflow, which is why I opt to use a hardware compressor. But again, these are not essential. This is a kind of an optional thing for when you dive a little bit deeper into production. Pro tip, scour the used market for this sort of thing because you'll get it a lot cheaper. So there you go. I hope this video helped you make some decisions as to how to set up your home studio. For any questions or suggestions, leave a comment down below. I'll try my best to answer them. And if there's something that I can make a whole video about, I will do that. You'll really help me out by liking this video, subscribing to the channel, and checking out my social media. Links are all down below. I'll see you in the next video.